Who was the first to recognize that anthropogenic activity could cause global warming? Many might say Joseph Fourier, who was the first to theorize through mathematical calculations that Earth's atmosphere insulates the planet. Others might say John Tyndall, the 19th century physicist whose name became synonymous with the science of heat and gases. But there is another scientist, a woman whose name was nearly lost to history, Eunice Newton Foote, the first to experimentally demonstrate that certain gases trap heat from the sun. Eunice Newton Foote was a scientist, inventor, and early advocate for women's rights. In 1856, at a time when women were excluded from most scientific institutions, Foote conducted a groundbreaking experiment in her home laboratory. Her goal was simple, yet profound: to understand how different gases respond to sunlight. Using glass cylinders, thermometers, and an air pump, Foote tested how gases like carbon dioxide and ordinary air reacted under sunlight. What she found would change how we understand our planet forever. Carbon dioxide, she observed, trapped the most heat, far more than ordinary air. She concluded that if Earth's atmosphere contained more carbon dioxide, the planet's temperature would rise. In other words, Eunice Newton Foote recognized that anthropogenic activity could contribute to the warming of the planet, nearly 3 years before John Tyndall published his famous results. But Foote never presented her findings herself. In 1856, women were not permitted to speak before the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Instead, a man, physicist Joseph Henry, read her paper aloud on her behalf. Foote's work was printed in the American Journal of Science and Arts, and briefly mentioned in Scientific American. Yet, it vanished from the official records of the AAAS. The likely reasons: she was a woman, and she did not attempt to explain how carbon dioxide trapped heat. Though Eunice Newton Foote was not only a scientist, she was also a reformer. As a signatory of the Declaration of Sentiments at the Seneca Falls Convention, she stood beside Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott in demanding equality for women. Her scientific work and her activism were rooted in the same principle: the right to speak, to be heard, and to contribute to the progress of society. Through science and advocacy alike, Foote exercised what can only be called the tools of democracy: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly. She used writing when she could not speak, publication when she could not present, and participation when society told her to remain silent. For more than a century, Eunice Newton Foote's discovery went uncredited. Only recently has history begun to correct itself, recognizing Foote as the first to connect carbon dioxide and atmospheric warming. Today, her insight forms the foundation of modern climate science. Her rediscovery is not just about fairness in science. It is a reminder that democracy itself depends on whose voices are recorded, remembered, and amplified. Eunice Newton Foote's story teaches us that the progress of science and the progress of equality are inseparable. When we silence any voice, through prejudice, exclusion, or power, we lose not only potential innovation, but truth itself. Imagine what Foote might have achieved if she had been given the same opportunities as her male counterparts. Imagine what our world could become if everyone had the freedom to question, to test, and to discover. Foote's life reminds us that democracy is not just a political ideal. It is the foundation upon which knowledge and justice grow. Eunice Newton Foote, scientist, reformer, pioneer. Her life shows that when people are free to question, discover, and share their ideas, both science and society can move forward together.